Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Untapped podcast. My name is Jacob Gable.
And my name is Jacob Wertz, guys. Welcome to episode 119. If this is your first time joining us for the Untapped podcast, first of all, thank you. We are thrilled to have you here with us. If this is your first time listening, we've actually got 5 main formats of our show. So first, we have Forging Fortitude episodes. Now, in these episodes, we go over the mental side of our brand. We cover everything to do with mindset and mentality. We give our anecdotal experiences and stories with that. We then pass on tips and advice to you guys to then apply to your own lives. Next, we have physical vitality episodes. Now, in these episodes, we cover the physical side of our brand. And this is really where we get to showcase our expertise because you have 2 certified personal trainers here. So in these episodes, we cover everything to do with fitness, the gym, diet, nutrition, supplements, fitness programs like 75 Hard. We will sometimes even take trending topics or articles within the fitness industry, and we will give our thoughts and opinions on those. Now, guys, those episodes are full of free game for you. We get to showcase our expertise. A lot of good stuff in those physical vitality episodes for you guys.
Nice, dude. Did you even miss a beat when we were took a break between 2
I don't
weeks or
think
anything
so.
like that? You didn't even miss anything there, dude. Great work. Guys, also those physical vitality episodes, keep in mind, we do have Untapped training that has been live for a couple months now. If you guys are looking for programs coming up in the summer, we are here for that. We can program. There's a subscription program, and then there's also one-on-one training. So pretty basic there. Now, Moke's being so weird right now, dude. But our third format of the events we have going on here is our current event-based format, which is called our breaking news format. Now, what we talk about in those current events, current articles going on in the world, we talk about if we should waste time talking about them in a certain direction, if they're worth dooming and glooming about, if they're worth freaking out over, that type of stuff, because sometimes things do get heated with that. Now, we like to have a little bit of fun during those episodes because they can be pretty heavy topics, but they're serious for a reason because we need to turn this country around. Now, our fourth format is our Knights Table format. That is a masculinity-based format. That is when we talk about the importance of fatherhood, the importance of men and masculinity in the world. Now, keep in mind, I'm 25. Wertz is 25. When Mitchell's with us, he's 23. So we're not coming to you as some all-put-together man. The only perfect man to ever walk the earth is Jesus Christ in human form. Now, anyways, on to our fifth format. That is our guest format. That is when we sit down with an entrepreneur, fitness professional, athlete, doctor, you name it, somebody with a great story like we had Miss Lau Silva on last episode. That one, ton of feedback on that one.
Yes.
If you guys want to go back, episode 118 with Lau, she absolutely killed it. We're definitely going to have her back on. She's unbelievable. Now, anyways, we usually introduce our producer, my brother, but he skipped out on us today.
Skipped out on us again, man.
Yep.
Feels like he's been doing that a lot to us.
You know, for some reason, he's traveling. That didn't really, fun.
Travel.
I would rather stay in one location all my life, but like that. But Mitchell is traveling, having a good time living his life. So obviously, this is our baby, and he doesn't have to be here. We do love when he's here.
He's a welcomed addition.
Welcome addition, yeah.
Very
and
much so.
We actually have really good feedback whenever he's here too.
Yeah, absolutely.
For that matter, just like we have good feedback in general, especially after that Lau episode, like we talked about. Which And by the way, great weekend for us so far.
I was going to say, it's been an awesome weekend, guys. Former Untapped guest, Mr. Trent Ruckman, is a married man now. Him and his wife now, Sarah.
That's crazy to say.
I know. I was like, do I say former fiance? I don't know. But him and his wife, Sarah, got married this weekend. It was a beautiful, beautiful wedding. The rehearsal dinner this past Thursday was great as well. And then we had a very fun brunch, lunch thing at their parents' house. Awesome family. As those of you that have been around with us since the beginning, you heard Trent's episode. We need to have him on again, honestly.
100%.
Very, very good for the psychology side of things. He can really speak to a lot of great things. But just an awesome couple. Sarah is fantastic for Trent. Love her. Love Trent. I mean, it really has been a beautiful weekend. There's no doubt.
Two very, the combination of them is very, perfect.
They're awesome.
Because it's Trent's super calm and well-spoken. Sarah's super energetic, super positive all the time. So it's this meshing that just works out great. And again, you could see that during the wedding. It's just beautiful.
100%. And everyone that spoke about them had basically the same things to say. And it was all kind of around the things that you just mentioned as well. So It's been a great weekend. We actually have a very cool picture with the two of them where they're holding up a U and a T. So we'll get that onto our social medias here very, very soon for you guys because they were sure to rep the Untapped. So very cool. I do want to mention here, those of you on video, the American flag is looking a little silly right now because it keeps falling on us. So if it does fall down during this episode, we do apologize. It's not on purpose.
I'm very glad you mentioned that because I was actually a little bit worried about like it just randomly collapsing.
It's like crooked in the corner of my eye. So if it falls, I'll catch it real quick so it doesn't touch the ground.
Exactly. Yeah, we can't have it touch the ground. That'd be blasphemous.
It's been a couple weeks. You know,
it has, dude.
We had a week in between episodes, you know, from Lao until now. But we're back at it with you guys. You know, very, very excited to be back on the mics and on the cameras with you guys. We have another physical vitality episode for you. And this is going to be the caffeine episode. The caffeine episode.
For some reason, a very touchy subject for a lot of people.
I guess,
To a certain degree. I've met people that are very like kind of, you know, weird about it.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, it's just caffeine. Like,
I think there's a bit of a negative connotation in some minds
100%
about caffeine.
Yeah.
You know, and even nicotine is like that for a lot of people as well, even though there's a ton of scientific research coming out that nicotine on its own, just like caffeine on its own, actually have very positive potential benefits.
Yeah, especially nootropic, like we're going to talk about with caffeine
exactly,
today.
100%. You know, they're actually very similar.
In the roles they play, 100%. Very similar,
And, you know, when some people hear caffeine, they automatically think, heart problems.
Or Monster Energy drinks or
Monster
Red
Energy
Bulls
drinks,
or whatever.
Which have all this sugar and stuff. We'll get into those, but just like people hear nicotine, they think cigarettes, they think dip,
100%.
You know, things like that. It's like, that
Vapes,
means cancer. And it's like, no. If you talk strictly about the individual ingredients, there's actually a lot of positive, potential positives with those things. So anyway, this is the caffeine episode.
Little preface.
The way we wanted to kind of start out was talking about the daily thresholds for men and women. And these are more general numbers because a lot of factors can go into these different amounts of milligrams per day that we're about to go over. You know,
it's ballpark episode.
Ballpark estimates and guidance as well, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and things that go into these, or factors that go into these things is, your activity level. How active are you throughout the day? And we don't just mean working out, but you and I are both training people all day long. Mm-hmm. So we're very, very active. We're on our feet most of the time at our jobs. And, especially me, because, you're in an office where you're working, one-on-one with a client where for me, I might have 12 athletes in at one time.
Absolutely.
It's just me and another trainer,
Mm-hmm.
or another coach. For some reason, I don't like calling us trainers down there. I feel like we're more as coaches.
A coach is a good word for it though, because it's what do you call it? It's all encompassing.
Yes.
So
yes.
That's why it works out well.
Yeah.
And of course, like I've had it's the same thing as when I don't like to call myself a trainer if I'm working with a group class.
Yeah.
That type of thing too.
Right.
It's like the coach of the class is the idea of it. When I've worked in my group classes, the past 7+ years now or whatever it's been, same thing.
Yeah.
So 100%.
Yeah. But so anyway, your activity level,
yes,
that goes into it. What kind of job do you have? How much do you work out? What are your workouts like? Is it strength training? Is it running? Is it is it rowing? Is it calisthenics? Is it gymnastics? Whatever. What's your activity level?
What workout should you use caffeine for? Is something we'll touch on too.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So that goes into play, and then your size. Your height and weight, whether you're male or female, your size absolutely matters. Mm-hmm. Guys like us, who are 6'2" and above, 200+ pounds,
non-victim weight men.
Non-victim weight, that's right. We can tolerate a higher amount of caffeine if we were to choose to do that. Now, this is not a roast on him. Someone Mitchell's size may not be able to.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that factors in as well. If you're a female that is 6 foot and you're, 160 pounds, 170 pounds even, and you're in really good shape, you might be able to handle more than a female that is 5'3", 115 pounds.
Right.
You know what I mean? As a matter of fact, you definitely can.
Big difference. Yeah. Not to mention the processing aspects of the male and female body too.
100%.
Like that's another thing. That's again, like that's why we tend to be, I don't want to say better athletes, but we're different athletes.
Sure.
Like men and women are, just because like we have more force production. We have better strength. So there's different demands when it comes to caffeine, when it comes to men and women, just naturally.
Yeah.
And that's, again, there's nothing wrong with that.
No,
it's
that's
just obvious scientific
100%.
fact is all it is.
Just a physiological fact
Yeah,
right there.
yeah. We're not we're not being bigoted. We're just stating research currently.
Right. Yeah. Someone will take it that way, and that's their own fault. But kind of what we have written out. So for females, we recommend about 150 to 200 milligrams a day maximum. Now, again, like we just went over, there's a lot of factors that maybe you need to be lower than that. Maybe you can be a little bit higher. You know, we're not advocating for, no, definitely go for 400 every day.
Just crush caffeine all day.
Right.
Coffee, drinks,
Right.
That's not what we're advocating for at all.
No, not at all. And even with these amounts, we're not saying you have to consume that amount every single day.
You don't even have to have caffeine if you don't want to.
You don't.
There's plenty of people that function well without it.
There's days where I don't, whether it's on accident or on purpose. You know, there's days where I'm just like, oh, I realized I didn't have a first form energy drink today, or you know, whatever. And then there's days where I'm just like, you know what? I've had caffeine for X amount of days in a row. Like, I'm good. Like, I don't need to do that today. And that keeps me in a pretty good spot as well, to where I don't have any withdrawals or anything like that. Or I'm like sitting there, you know, like scratching and craving it, like, which is a good thing.
100%,
you know, the days I have it, I can feel it. It works for me. I don't have a crazy high tolerance to it right now. Now, in past years, you know, I've certainly have been higher than what we're about to say for recommended for men. Well, actually, let's just go into that so I can kind of continue that story. And I know you've got personal
100%.
stories with that as well. So again, for the females, we recommend 150 to 200 milligrams a day. If you are on that higher end of size for females, like I mentioned, you know, closer to that maybe 6 foot, or, you know, 5'10" to 6'1", something like that, and you weigh a little bit more, then okay, if you reach to that 250, maybe even 300, you're probably not harming yourself. Again, we're also not doctors, so we're not giving medical advice here. We're giving the perspective of a strength coach, of a personal trainer. So we recommend that 150 to 200. Now for the males, we recommend not going higher than 200 to 400.
Yep.
Okay. Now, again, there is nuance with that. There is caveat to that. If you're bigger guys like ourselves, you know, if we do go to 400 and there's a couple days where we maybe reach over that by, you know, 100 to 200 milligrams, 1 day or 2 days a week, probably not harming yourself. Okay. But is that something you want to sustain? Definitely not.
Yeah.
Definitely
is that a risk you need to take?
Exactly.
It's the biggest thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Because if you're relying on, you know, we know people, and we've heard other stories from other people we don't know, but we know people that are in that 600 to a gram of caffeine every single day.
I was going to say, yeah.
You know, even Wyatt actually has told us just that he used to be that way, where it was like 600 to a gram every single day. Yeah. And guys, I'm telling you right now, like, that is, I don't care what your size is at that point. One, your tolerance is way too high.
Yep.
If you're relying on that for energy to get through a day, you have other problems that you need to address.
Yeah, that's
you know,
true.
You might be overweight.
Yep.
You might not be sleeping enough.
Yep.
That's probably your number one. You're probably not sleeping enough
Your
because you're taking
diet's not supporting
diet's
energy
not good.
at all.
You're not getting outside enough. Not getting the
outside.
sunlight.
Correct.
So if you're relying on that amount of caffeine every single day to get just through your day, there's other things in your life that you need to address, you know, and you know, it might get a little uncomfortable for you, but I'm going to be honest with you, I don't care. You need to address those things. You need to make better habits for yourself to then get through those days more naturally. You know, again,
agreed, yeah.
Not hating on caffeine whatsoever.
Yeah.
You know, like both of us earlier today, we both had a First Form energy drink that has 200 milligrams in it. We're not having anything else.
Yep.
You know,
I had coffee at the brunch.
That's right.
And that was it.
Right.
So I'm sitting at about 3 to 350.
Yeah. If that, honestly.
If that, yeah. Depending on how full strength the coffee is.
I do believe the average cup of coffee now, has about 90 milligrams.
Yes.
You know,
depending on the strength of it, it's like 60 to 90, somewhere in there.
Yeah, exactly. Now, if you get the huge one from Starbucks or, you know, espresso shots and all this other stuff, then you're going to be higher
80 grams of sugar in there with it.
Yeah, no kidding.
And you're also running into issues.
Kidding. I get it. It tastes good. And believe me, I know it does. It's fantastic.
Agreed.
I enjoy it sometimes too. Anyway, personal stories with that. I definitely have been in a place, in fact, about a year ago, you know, last summer when I was as cut as I was, you know, under 10% body fat, like I was consuming 6 to 7, sometimes even maybe 800 milligrams a day. And I know you and I had plenty of talks. It's like, dude, like I am so tired. Like I'm not getting through the days, you know, and I realized I was building that tolerance up way too high with the caffeine. You know, and then when you're that low of a body fat percentage too, like that can factor into that. You know, I was extremely happy with how I looked, but but how I felt was very lethargic.
Yeah.
And
which
very
is a
mentally.
common problem for
100%.
for a natural athlete who is cut that weight. A lot of times we'll talk to guys who are the same boat, that 6 to 8 to 10% range, and they have the same issues with fatigue.
100%.
Because I mean, granted, your diet can be as dialed as you want, but if you're calorie deficiting, like you're gonna have lower energy.
Absolutely,
this is what it is.
Yeah.
And so that caffeine's gonna you're gonna think I need to back it up with caffeine, but in reality, you need to back it up with more sleep. Is probably the number one thing that you should think about in that scenario.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm definitely, I can speak on that as well. I mean, you and I especially the first year we started lifting together, I would say was when we were just hammering caffeine. Like there was at least like 2 or 3 days a week where we were between that like 600 to 800 milligrams a day, like easily.
Yeah.
And that was like casual. And like you said, in the last like 1 to 2 years, it's been way more controlled, like max between 200 to 400 at most. And again, like that's us speaking as 200 plus pound dudes. Like there is a different requirement with the body there.
Definitely.
Just like there would be a different requirement with calorie intake.
Sure.
Same concept.
Yeah.
Or for that matter, like some people with like if you're worried about controlling nicotine intake, it'd be the same thing. Like if you're pound like just having a bunch of nicotine gum or something like that, imagine you're just chewing all day long and you're 150 pounds, you're going to run into real issues there.
Definitely.
And same thing, even if you're 250 pounds and having nicotine gum all day, you're screwed.
Right.
Like, you're going to have serious problems with restriction.
You're also reaching beyond the dosage for benefits of
100%.
caffeine or something like nicotine or what's another thing? Like even a pre-workout.
I mean, creatine.
Creatine.
Funny enough, could be. If you have more than 10 grams a day, you're pretty much loading. You're
also
not loading.
You're also wasting creatine at that point. It's not necessarily harmful to you. You're just going to pee out the excess, but you're wasting money.
You have kidney issues, existing kidney
100%.
issues.
That's actually a very good point there.
100%. And that's the thing too, is that whenever we talk about caffeine, it's about we mention these dosages for performance. Like that's the whole benefit for it, because again, something like caffeine is very beneficial for performance.
Yeah.
So you can speak on the focus aspect of it. You can speak on the mental and nootropic benefits that come from it. You can speak on the mood benefits that come from it. But like you said, when you're sitting around 400, 600, 800, I mean, like you just mentioned, we know people 600 up to 1.2 grams a day. I know a couple of people
normal
at that.
thing.
This is their normal thing.
Yeah.
And they're always talking about how tired they are. And I'm like, I wonder why. Maybe switch to stem-free pre-workout,
right?
Which is something we can discuss as well.
That's what I was going to have us go into next, like different sources. So to make it easier on yourself to understand how much you're intaking. When you and I were going through that time of easily getting to 600 a day, every day we were taking a pre-workout that has 400 in it.
Crushing.
And it's a great product.
Oh, phenomenal.
It's probably the best pre-workout we've ever taken. It's from Advanced Molecular Labs. It's their pre-workout extreme. It's a fantastic product, but we were hammering it every single day, then having an energy drink. That was actually before First Form even had energy drinks.
Yep.
So it was probably some bullshit energy drink that we were taking, which I can confidently say I've never been a Monster or a Red Bull guy.
Nope, me either.
Have I had them? Yes. But am I like, I got to have a Monster? No, because those are terribly made. They're full of sugar. They're full of other crap that you don't need. So please stay away from those.
Yeah, those aren't. They aren't even high. Like they aren't even dosed properly at all.
No,
there's no dosing in them, like other than just caffeine that is useful. And then you have a crash, and you're like, oh, I wonder why.
Right. So energy drinks that we enjoy. First Form. Okay.
Yep.
Bang is actually made pretty well
for the most part.
Yeah,
Rain. For a while they were suspect.
They were,
and I think they went through a lawsuit thing or something like that. I don't want to speak on
that.
Anything like that, but I believe it was something like that. They changed their formula.
Yes. Yeah. And Rain is right there with them, which I believe those are made by the same.
I think Rain's made by Monster actually.
Is it?
It's either Monster or something else. I'm not sure.
I thought Bang and Rain.
No, they were the ones who were battling back and forth.
Oh, okay.
Actually, yeah, because they were like damn near the same product.
Right.
Yeah, it was like 300 milligrams caffeine plus whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it was weird.
Gotcha. So I could be mixing up my companies here. Ghost is another one that we enjoy.
Is good. Yep.
Those are made okay.
Yeah.
They're made better than a Monster or Red Bull or something like that.
Have you had the Gorilla Mind ones?
I have. Yes.
Yes. Those are really
good.
solid.
Yes. Yeah. There's another one at supplement superstores that I'm blanking on.
Talking about Rise Fuel. RYSE.
That they do have those. I've never had those personally.
I've had a couple.
Their flavors look good.
They're solid flavors.
That's the thing about Ghost. Ghost probably has the best flavors out there.
Unbelievable flavors. Yeah.
So anyway, those are some energy drinks that we recommend. Now, other sources are pre-workout, okay? Like he just mentioned, guys. If you want to switch to a stim-free, which is primarily what both of us take every single day, sure, are you going to not get that spark feeling when you're headed to the gym, drinking your pre-workout? Yeah, you might lack that because you don't have the caffeine. Usually the beta-alanine, which is like the itchy feeling, usually that's going to be a little bit lower or non-existent in a stim-free. We both primarily use Advanced Molecular Labs, again, for their stim-free.
And we can say that because it genuinely is the best product we've used.
It's fantastic. So, and we've used just about every pre-workout out there. Every big-name brand that you can think of. Yeah. We have tried it. We have used it. And there's some other really good ones. Gorilla makes good pre-workouts. First Form has some good ones. Evogen has some really solid ones.
Yep.
So we're not hating on those at all. We've just found that AML has probably the best. Their stim-free does still have a little bit of beta-alanine, which I enjoy because I do like that itchy feeling. I know you're a fan of that as well.
Well, and that's the thing. It's not even like it feels like a ready-to-go feeling with beta-alanine, but it's also there's also the performance benefits of blood flow, et cetera, that type of stuff that come along with the what's it called? They called NO2 or vasodilators, nitric oxide, yeah. So that also comes along with those type of pre-workouts because and beta-alanine's a part of that, just like betaine anhydrous is a part of that.
That's a great one. Creatine.
Creatine.
We both really enjoy.
Tyrosine is also in there. It's a big one. That interacts well with caffeine, but it also interacts well without caffeine too because it's a dopamine precursor.
Right.
So
which is why you and I are such a fan of the First Form drinks is because it has tyrosine in it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
One of the few, if I don't know if any others have it, honestly.
I think Gorilla
does it
First Form. That's First Form and Gorilla are probably my top two. I'd recommend for most people.
Yeah.
Obviously flavors we talked about with Ghost and whatnot are really good, but I would, if I'm talking about performance benefits, you're probably going Gorilla and First Form as your top two drinks.
The Gorilla cans look sick.
Yeah, they do look sick.
The black and the white, like they look tough.
They did great marketing on those for sure, which is of course a factor. Like if something looks cool, you're going to get it. Like
it's going to catch your eye though.
100%.
Supplement companies are great at that.
Oh yeah, they
are great at that.
Yeah,
and that's why a lot of the coolest looking labels are the worst looking products, or the worst products, is because the only reason you bought it is because the packaging looks cool.
It's like those pre-workouts, dude, that say like, "I am God." Yeah. Like there was literally one called "I am God."
I know.
Had like 500 milligrams of caffeine.
I think it had what's the banned ingredient? DMHA,
DMHA or DMAA, or there's it's a band something like that. It's like literally like one of the ingredients in meth.
It's like
methamphetamine. Yeah. I've never taken anything like that, thank God.
No. I'd be interested in trying it.
It's definitely interesting. It's intriguing. There's no doubt about it. I can't even lie. It's intriguing.
We don't even like lift like that anymore.
No, dude.
Where it's like, I'm going for a deadlift PR today. Like we don't do like the ego type lifts anymore where it's like we would quote unquote need something like that.
Yeah, sure.
If we were, the extreme that I mentioned earlier, guys, from AML would be the product that we take.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's what's interesting about that too. Now you say that, so we can separate. There's like 3 categories of pre-workout. There's like there's the PR type pre-workouts.
Sure.
Which some of those literally I've seen them have between 500 to 600 milligrams of caffeine in them.
Gorilla has some.
Yes.
600.
Yes. I think it's like
they're the special edition.
Special edition one. Anyways, those are PR ones. Like if you're going for that PR, but I wouldn't do it more than once a month. Truthfully,
dude,
I really wouldn't recommend that.
It's definitely not a daily or probably even a weekly.
It's probably not even a weekly thing.
No.
And I mean, if you want to use it, it's gonna caffeine naturally, that much caffeine is gonna inject you with a ton of energy and a ton of let's go. Let me pick up this 600-pound deadlift or whatever, or however many pounds you're doing. Yeah, it will, but I got to be careful. I'm just not a fan of that.
I'm
personally.
not either.
I can't say I am. And truthfully, even whenever we are to take extreme, we barely do it anymore.
Yeah.
With their extreme product. I mean, I don't even remember the last time I took it.
I don't either.
But if we are, it's like you and I are together and we know we're pumping some weight.
Yeah.
But it's the only caffeine we'll have that day because 400 milligrams, again, it's at the top end of dosing, which is cool, fine. But it also has a bunch of other good stuff in there too.
Right.
It has a citrulline malate. It has the betaine anhydrous. It has the beta-alanine. It has synephrine in there. It has all this other stuff that if you want to hit the weights hard, do it. Yeah. But again, like I'm saying, these are not daily pre-workouts.
No.
So there's the non-daily, they're more PR pre-workouts.
Yeah.
There's the regular caffeinated pre-workouts, which are anywhere usually between 300 to 400 milligrams.
Even
a lot of times,
150.
Sometimes there's 150 ones.
to that range you just mentioned.
Because Megawatt I think has 150 in it for First Form. But so those are more daily driver type pre-workouts, I'd call them. And those are, again, they're fine, but the problem is if they are in the higher range of that 300 to 400 milligrams, you're probably going to have to limit any other caffeine you take during the day.
Definitely.
So you have to be aware of that. And also, you shouldn't be taking it past 3 p.m. If you're a night lifter, you definitely shouldn't be doing caffeinated pre-workouts at all. That's we'll dive into that too. But then there's the non-stim.
Yeah.
Which those are phenomenal.
Meaning no caffeine, in case you guys don't know what that means.
Yeah. No stimulants in general, but caffeine's the main one that's never in those.
Right.
And again, like AMLs is unbelievable.
Yes, it really is.
It's incredible. I mean, you want to talk about like me having phenomenal blood flow, phenomenal focus, just a great focused workout in general.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, like some people think they're like, oh, maybe will my workout be as crazy off non-stim? It's like, trust me.
Yeah. And that always cracks me up because I'm like, why do you feel the need to have a crazy
why do you need to be a crackhead? The whole time. Yeah.
Like most of your workouts are just getting the work done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And we've talked plenty about that as far as, not always going through the motion, things like that. But like most of your workouts are not going to be just like insanity. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, those are fun to mix in sometimes. We do that.
Sure. And you should be training hard, but like you don't need to have 400 milligrams of caffeine to train hard.
And if you think you need it, then that's another evaluation you need to have with 100%, yourself.
With your tolerance. I mean, because caffeine's just like any other product. If you just take it over and over again at 400 milligrams, you're going to build a tolerance to that. Maybe I should step up to 500 milligrams.
And a mental tolerance too. Like, if I don't take this 400 milligrams, I'm not going to have a good workout. That's 100%. Not a good mindset to have.
It's extremely concerning.
Yes.
Yeah, it's extremely concerning if you need that for a workout.
Definitely.
And again, like we're talking like if you're going to do night lifts, you should really only be taking non-stim pre-workout. Yeah. Like I don't really see the benefits in taking caffeine at 6 p.m. at night. I can't even justify that because of the fact that it'll ruin your sleep and your circadian rhythm. So
if you're maybe like a night nurse or have like a night job,
well, it's different too because their sleep schedule's flipped.
Yeah,
if they're a night nurse or a night shift type of job, like that's okay. Then you're awake during the night, and that's your day in quotations. Right. Which I can't
your 6 p.m. is like really your 6 a.m.
Yeah.
For us, so like that's your one.
Right.
One workaround.
Right.
But no, I 100% agree with you.
Yeah, and so outside the pre-workouts, like we talked about with energy drinks, again, I'd limit it to 1 to 2 max and at most 200 milligrams in them because it just, you're going to run into issues. But also, I mean, if we're talking like sources of caffeine and products out of caffeine, then coffee is probably going to be your top one. Yeah. I mean, if we're being really
most common anyway.
Most common, and it's also if you have now, I'm talking about black coffee. I'm not talking about dumping milk and creamer and all this other stuff like we talked about with Starbucks. That's why I drink black coffee because black coffee is actually shown to have heart benefits too, heart health benefits, which is incredible to think about. But also, it has a good solid caffeine wake up. It's not like you're crashing unless you're having 4 to 6 cups of it. Plus, obviously, it's limiting it. Yeah. It's moderation with it. That's a pretty obvious thing to talk about.
Yeah.
And again, like this, what caffeine comes down to is controlling your doses. It really does come down to controlling your doses because one, when you control your doses, you're going to have better performance benefits because when you do use it, it's going to give you performance benefits that you need. Yep. And you're not going to have the fatigue factors we're going to talk about and the cons of caffeine that we're going to talk about as well. So, and we can, do you have anything else on that section right there?
No, I was going to say, let's hop into the pros and cons because you actually mentioned a bunch of the pros we had listed out already, just that it can give you physical, mental focus, energy, better performance in those aspects. Yeah. It's going to help you get through your workouts as far as the energy aspect. Now, the endurance of caffeine on its own. Now, if you're a runner, you should not be slamming caffeine before you run, which a lot of people do that.
Right.
And they wonder why they cramp up, why they can't make it through a run, why they feel sick and things like that, and or maybe throw up, something like that. It's because caffeine's not meant for that. It's not meant to be an endurance enhancer.
Yeah, the half-life of it's very short for caffeine a lot of the times. I forgot what the exact... I'm not going to quote the numbers because I'm not exactly
Wait, do you mean half-life?
Half-life, like basically the usage time for it, or like the length that it's effective.
I thought it was something like 13 hours for that. Because that's why you don't take it past 3 p.m.
It might only, I could be wrong.
Here.
Yeah.
While we're talking here, I'll look it up.
But it might only be 3 to 5 hours. But anyways, you're right. That's a big reason because it's longer. But the reason you're talking about with running is that it's a vasoconstrictor. So that's the big thing because you need vasodilation. Vasoconstricting is constricting blood flow.
Yes.
Vasodilation means increased blood flow. So that's the reason that you have vasodilators paired along with caffeine in pre-workouts.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you should know if it's a good pre-workout or not, because that increases blood flow, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
That's like, so what you want. But caffeine, like we said, is a vasoconstrictor. And if you just
Yes.
take caffeine, you don't want to be vasoconstricted and have constricted blood flow before you go run or do an endurance event.
Exactly.
It's not really beneficial.
Yeah. So I was definitely wrong. But the mean half-life of caffeine in plasma of healthy individuals is about 5 hours.
About 5 hours.
About 5 hours.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know where I got 13. I must be
No,
thinking
yeah,
something else.
I mean, technically half-life, like that means 10 hours.
10
technically.
hours,
So
right.
like, I mean, you're way
Yeah.
off. Yeah.
I don't, I mean, there's some different answers here. Now, that first one I just gave was from the National Institutes of Health.
Yeah.
This other one says the time required for just half of the total caffeine to be eliminated from the body, known as the half-life, is anywhere from 2 to 12 hours. So that just doesn't seem like a very...
That's not very specific.
That's not a very science-based answer there. The half-life of caffeine ranges from an hour and a half to 9.5 hours. That's also from the National Institutes of Health.
That's Fauci's friends right there.
Less than 5% of the caffeine is found in the urine as unchanged drug. The half-life of caffeine ranges from 1.5 to 9.5 hours.
That's a lot.
But I'm going to go with the first one because it's talking about in plasma of a healthy individual.
Yeah, yeah. And again, that's why you said that's why the 3 hours thing, or not 3 p.m.
3
thing,
p.m. thing,
is
right.
not very intelligent for most people that aren't working night shifts, of course,
Sure.
because you really should aim to keep it before like noon.
Yeah.
Noon or 2 to 3 in the afternoon is like your latest, usually, because again, it can disrupt your sleep at that point in time.
Definitely.
And again, drinking water is going to help with that. It's going to
yeah.
help expel it. It's going to help with that. It's being more active. It's going to help expel it. That type of stuff, of
Yes.
course.
Yeah.
Of course.
For me, I typically drink so on the days I take my stim-free pre-workout, which again, that's most days now, especially because the way we typically work out, we're moving around a lot. We might even be running sprints or doing jumps or things like that where you don't want all that caffeine because of all the things you just mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
But I typically drink mine at about 3:30, and that's strictly because I work into the night. You know, I might be working as late as 9 or 9:30 p.m.
Correct.
So I know, and again, my size and everything, I know I can handle that, go to sleep just fine. You know what I mean? So again, you just have to evaluate how your day is. That 3 p.m. is just our general advice as far as that goes. You good on the pros?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Moving to the cons, which we've actually kind of covered these already as well for the most part. Blood flow restrictor. You just covered all the bases on that. Obviously not something you want during a workout or during running. Now, you guys might be thinking, well, you just said it's good in pre-workouts. It's good for workouts. So the things to look out for in a pre-workout that has caffeine in it are the other ingredients. And you mentioned these earlier, the NO2 enhancers, again, nitric oxide, your vasodilators, things like that. Those types of ingredients and those types of individual products, because there are companies like AML that has a capsule, or I guess you take 3 capsules for a serving. That's just a nitric oxide enhancer, you know, and actually that's a great product. That's one of their newer ones. We both have loved that.
I love that. Yeah.
Love that. That's one of my favorites from them, honestly. Because we've tried just about everything from them.
Essentially, yes.
I mean, quite honestly, just about everything. But you want to look for those other types of ingredients that are going to then supplement the caffeine that is in the product.
Correct.
And that way your blood flow is not hindered during a workout or during a run, or, well, I'll just say during a workout, because obviously it's very important through a lifting session.
For strength training, because it's anaerobic too.
Yes.
Like most pre-workouts are designed around anaerobic movements,
Yes.
which are, again, they're very fast hit movements. There are
Yes.
things like sprints. There's things like heavy deadlifts. There are things like heavy compound movements in general
Right.
that are more anaerobic.
Where it's probably a maximum of 30 seconds of work.
Right.
If that.
Yeah. And again, like maximum of your hour and a half in the gym a lot of the times.
Exactly.
Too. So that's also important. Like you don't really want to be going higher than that. So like that's the same with like citrulline malates in things and it's L-citrulline derived with malic acid added to it. Mm-hmm. It's the whole point of that is it enhances power output.
Yeah.
Which is
so sick.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
It's a sweet ingredient. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like anywhere between like 6 to 10 grams of that, money spot. It's an expensive ingredient apparently.
It is.
But
well, and that's why like the extreme we mentioned earlier, that's why you're going to pay for it.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's like $50 or $60 for 20 servings.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. Something like that.
which is another reason not to take it every day.
Yeah, that's real talk right there.
But you'll definitely notice when you take that compared to something else, as
100%.
far as the endurance through a workout of a lifting session, I should say, that power output. I mean, it's legit. It's legit. There's a reason they call it extreme. I mean, it's a
Very
good
legit.
workout that you're going to get from taking that.
100%.
Anyway, continue on.
Well,
Sorry.
and then again, the anaerobic things are usually between like 30 seconds to 2 minutes to a set as well.
Yeah.
Or they might literally be 5 to 10 seconds if you're going for 2 to 3 reps
100%.
or whatever. So like, or
100%.
1 to 3 reps. Like, so it's going to help you with your power output.
Yes.
Now, I will say for you runners and you endurance athletes, something like L-citrulline without the malic acid, so not citrulline malate, L-citrulline, that's it. That can be very useful for aerobic output. Very useful for that. So if you guys want something that you're like, what the hell? I can't take caffeine. Like, that's basically what you're hearing from us. There is plenty of other options. L-citrulline, quick hitting carbs, like a quick granola bar or honey or gel packets, rice cakes, great options. Because again, carbs are what you're going to be needing. Yeah,
that's
applesauce,
a great one, actually.
100%.
And honestly, if you're strapped for food, even like a Snickers bar. Like I'm not sitting here advocating for candy, but like that'll digest really, really fast.
That's true.
It's better than going and eating a burger before you run. Not only because you might puke it up, but
that would hurt.
A burger is going to take a long time to digest, just like a chicken breast or a sandwich, something like that.
Yep.
If Snickers is all you got, that's actually going to be your better option as far as like needing some carbs right now.
Yeah.
Now, please try to go for one of the other things we just mentioned.
Especially honey, actually, for that money. Honey's very useful.
Honey's good, yeah.
Very high in carbohydrates, and it's a very healthy substance as well. So, like, that's great. If you can find, like, farmers-produced honey or whatever at your local, like we have Deerbergs here in St. Louis. That's great for that, finding that type of stuff.
Some, like, fruit stands around the area,
fruit stands,
local
stands like that. Yeah, again, I always say shop local
definitely.
personally. But, yeah, something like that. That's very simple. And, again, L-citrulline is sold by some companies. I don't know. I forgot which companies exactly.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that one.
I know it's sold separately by some companies, and you could probably find it anywhere. But again, that's going to be a dosing of, again, probably give or take 6 grams or so from that a lot of the times in a scoop. So that's something that's very useful for aerobic output, and could be even useful for something like a sprint workout or some kind of, more, again, aerobic type of workout is what we're thinking here. More endurance type of workout is very useful for that. So, yeah, you have other options. And again, like if you drink a couple cups of coffee, you're not going to be hurt from your running. You're not going to be like running out of breath and all that stuff and screwed. That's not going to happen. But if you're pounding energy drinks and pre-workout before you go run, then find another source.
Definitely.
Like objectively.
Definitely.
You go use that during your lifting workouts and go from there. Yeah.
Yes. Something that kind of goes with the blood flow topic is it can cause heart issues. If you are consistently getting to that 600 a gram, 1.2 grams of caffeine every single day, over time, that can absolutely break down your heart and cause you heart issues, which can obviously be irreversible or fatal. Not always, but certainly can be. Or you could cause a problem that you deal with for the rest of your life. Things like that, high blood pressure or whatever. So over time, it can cause heart issues. Now, if you drink an energy drink a day, you're not causing yourself heart issues. Most likely. If your family has history of heart issues, then you're someone that absolutely needs to be aware of how much you consume a day, and what source you're getting it from. Are you getting it from a source like a Monster that has a lot of sugar in there with it? Are you getting it from Starbucks drinks that, it might have 150 milligrams of caffeine, but how many grams of sugar are in that drink? So there's other factors that you may have to take into effect. Soda. That's another one. We haven't even mentioned soda.
So, granted, soda's a lot of times low in caffeine, but again, all the other shit in soda is the real problem with that.
If you're drinking 4 or 5 Cokes a day, like I think a single can of Coke has like, is it 40 or 80 grams of sugar?
It might be like 70, 70 to 80 grams of sugar. Yeah,
we'll find out.
Those are a risky one for sure. And again, like it's same thing there, like in moderation with like diet soda drinks.
39. Yeah,
Coke,
a 12-ounce can of Coca-Cola contains 39 grams of sugar.
I want to say in like Barks root beer, there's like 74 grams in like a 16-ounce bottle or something like that. But
Mitch, I'm doing your job right now, dude.
Yeah. Where's Mitch?
Yeah.
Get him over here right now.
Can of Barks.
It's about to be just a ton.
Let's see here. The first one I'm finding here on Barks root beer soda is 44 grams of total sugars.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what is that, 12 ounces?
That is the question was a 12-ounce can of Barks root beer.
Yeah.
Per 1 can serving.
So I was probably looking at the 16 to 20 ounce can or something
Could
like
be.
that, or whatever it was.
Could be.
Or bottle. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's what we're talking about is the additives that come along with other products
Right.
that are questionable. And again, like Wirt said, like if your family has heart health issues and whatnot, you need to be aware of that. You need to be aware of existing health issues for yourself and whatnot. In any situation like this, we're not doctors, so we're not trying to give you the newest health advice on caffeine, but it's useful. Go ahead.
Because it's another popular one, I looked up Mountain Dew. 46 grams.
Yeah, Mountain Dew's filled with that.
Yeah.
My dad was younger, he used to pound those.
Dude, I used to drink Mountain Dew all the time, especially like Code Red.
Yeah, I was a big Pepsi guy.
Pepsi's good. Dr. Pepper's good.
Yeah.
What's the blue one? The blue Mountain Dew?
Oh, shoot.
Voltage.
So good. Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
Gosh, you're going to get me craving soda. But I mean, yeah, like that's the overall thing is that you need to, one, before you even start consuming caffeine, or if you already are consuming caffeine, you really need to check your family history. You need to check how you feel also off of it. You need to check your fatigue levels.
Yeah.
Am I always tired and whatnot? You need to be able to check yourself. And again, if you need to evaluate yourself or you need to know your family history, ask your primary care doctor. That's big.
Ask your parents, ask your grandparents.
Absolutely.
If there's a long line of addiction, if there is heart history, if there's brain history, if there's cancer history, you should know those things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For me, like there's dementia history on both sides of my family.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like I'm kind of doing everything I can right now as a young male, consistently working out, taking things like creatine, which have a lot of great cognitive benefits, trying to prolong or prevent me getting that, and I can see it in my dad as well. He's very active and he tries to be as active as he can. We try to eat as good as we can for the most part, especially as a family, to prolong those types of things from setting in. You know what I mean? So it's just know your family's history. That I'm just really glad we brought that point up. Knowing your family history.
It's extremely important. And again, like this is the reason we talk about caffeine, creatine, that type of stuff. Those are two very common substances, but like caffeine is, again, along with creatine, one of the most researched substances there are.
Yes.
And performance benefits are very researched with it. So it's going to give you a lot of benefits.
Absolutely.
But again, also the negatives of going too much with it have been researched and noticed anecdotally by almost everybody that takes too much of it as well.
Right.
So it's not like we're just making up stuff about caffeine. There's one study out about it. No, there's a lot of studies about caffeine out.
Right.
Same with creatine.
And this goes for anything too.
100%.
If there's something that can provide you benefits to your workouts, to your life, there's a good chance that if it's abused, there are very real negatives, potential negatives, I should say. There's obviously, marijuana has been a huge talking point in the U.S. here in the last several years of legalizing it, keeping it illegal, giving it to the states to decide, making it a federal, whatever. There's all kinds of points around it. And are there research studies that have come out with possible benefits to marijuana use, in a controlled manner? Yeah, absolutely. But do most people keep it within that dosage?
Yeah, 100%.
Are there people that do? 100%.
Yep.
We just found out someone that uses it for the benefits, which was very unexpected. But by all means, like, dude, you do what you do, And but for the most part, are people staying within that dosage? No, absolutely not. They're using it recreationally
100%.
to get high and to experience that.
Dude, I knew plenty of people who would have it right as they woke up, and they needed it to function.
I mean, dude, we're reading Dopamine Nation right now
100%.
for our book club with Captain VFS, who, by the way, we're both repping right
Admiral
now.
VFS,
which is awesome.
Rep.
Brood Buzz, no big deal. Sick name.
Brood Buzz.
I'm sure we'll talk more on that.
Good friends, good cigars.
That's right. That's right. But anyway, we're reading Dopamine Nation, and actually one of our most recent chapters here talked about marijuana use, and this person was literally using it as soon as they woke up and right before they went to bed and all throughout the day in between, and at that point, like, the benefits are out the window.
Oh yeah.
If you're at that gram a day of caffeine, the benefits are out the window.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So you have to be aware of your consumption levels with any of these things that have possible benefits. Like, you got to be aware of those things. You just have to be.
Yeah. And it's important too, because you can take things like, when it comes to caffeine, you can take things like tolerance breaks. We talked about that earlier, how you would like take a day off, but what you can do is literally take a week or two off.
Yeah.
And a lot of times what we're reading in the book as well is like, you need to, if you really like are in a spot where you're at 600 plus or whatever, you probably should take a month off.
Yeah, that's what this guy was recommending.
Reset things, and then you can go back to that 200 to 400. Now, again, I don't recommend, if you're relying on caffeine, just going right cold turkey or whatever, because and again, it's not going to be as harsh as something like an
meth.
Unsanctioned drug like meth or something like that. But probably recommend starting with limiting to 400 to 200, and then slowly work towards where you take a break.
Yeah,
let your body just breathe, your adrenal glands breathe, all that stuff. Like, just give them a break because of the fatigue that is caused by them. That's why, again, it can ruin your sleep as well. Can ruin your energy throughout the day whenever you're relying on it too much. So that's a big thing, is a big tool we use is tolerance breaks. Well,
and we kind of mentioned it earlier, but we probably need to hit it on it for just another second here. You need to make sure you're hydrated as well if you're going to be consuming caffeine on a regular basis. You know, we both have these giant jugs from Yeti and whatnot that wherever we are, they're with us, you know? So we're very hydrated, and we do that purposely for multiple reasons. Not only because we drink caffeine or take creatine, but being a hydrated individual is just very, very important for functionality throughout the day. You know, but if your main hydration comes from coffee or just a caffeine source, you can actually be at a higher risk for kidney stones.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't think anyone wants to deal with kidney stones. That is legitimately, knock on wood, one of my biggest fears is to get kidney stones, dude. Like, I'm not trying to deal with that shit. Like, no, thank you,
dude. That's a scary one.
It makes you shrivel up, just sitting there. Because there's no other way to get it out than to let it come out,
than to expel it.
Right,
expel it from your body. No thanks, bro.
There's no surgery or
same with potato. Just crushing potato chips. That's a good way to lead. Just a shit diet will lead to that type of stuff too. Like, come on, bro.
Are so good, though.
Like, dude, like chips are so good. Yeah, gosh, they are good. But the point is like, don't be crushing unhealthy stuff. Like, that's just your health and fitness is just, it's such an important thing with every factor, and like moderating things that can have risks to them, understanding what can have risks to them. Being well versed on health and fitness to a certain degree, or at least having friends that are, is very important.
Yeah.
I mean, Sam, who we had on the podcast as well, always will message me and be like, hey, what do you think about this? He'll be asking questions all the time. And so he's become a much more well-versed person now because he asks the right questions and doesn't do stupid stuff that causes his body to fail.
And doesn't have an ego when it comes to asking questions.
100%.
You know what I mean? Like, if you got a question, like, especially us two guys, we are more than willing to help you out. More than willing to help you out.
No doubt.
You know, give you advice. You know, after this episode, you guys listen to this, you're wondering, it's like, okay, hey, Jacob, like, I weigh this much, I'm this tall. Like, do you think I can be in that 400 range? You know, we'll give our thoughts and advice on that. You know what I mean? So if this gets your mind spinning, it's like, wow, I wonder if I'm consuming too much caffeine because I can't get through the day. You know what I mean? Like, ask those questions to us. We'd be more than willing to help. So
correct.
Yeah. That was a lot, but I think that was a very, very good episode for you guys. A lot of information surrounding caffeine. The very real possible pros with it. The also very real possible cons that can come with it. The different thresholds for male and female. So guys, if you have any other questions regarding caffeine intake, best places to get it from, you know, good pre-workouts to use. If you want our list of, you know, top energy drinks as well, again, like, we'd be more than willing. I can't talk right now. More than willing to give you those.
Episode too.
Yeah, that's right. So, guys, I hope you learned something in this episode. I hope you got a little bit better mentally and physically. Okay, guys, submit your Q&A questions. Okay, typically we have a Q&A question from Money Mitch, but again, there's no one sitting right there. I'm not looking at anybody.
I mean, his camera stands over there.
His camera stands over there, but
I don't know what
it's
happened.
not pointing at anything.
Yeah, that's weird.
So typically, guys, at the end of all of our non-guest episodes, Money Mitch will ask us a Q&A question that is submitted by you guys, the listeners or the viewers. Those can be about anything. We get all of them. We then give them to Money Mitch. He will pick one out that pertains to the episode, or it's just a question you guys have. Sometimes they're funny. But there's a couple different ways we would like you guys to submit those questions. First and foremost, you can DM them to us on Instagram at untapped.llp. You can also DM them to us individually if you would like. You can text them to us individually if you have our numbers. You can email them to us. The email address is extricationfitness@gmail.com. I know it's a mouthful, so there's an email button in our Instagram bio. Am I missing it? You can leave them in the comments on our Instagram post or our YouTube videos. If you guys didn't know, we are on YouTube with all of our podcast episodes. This guy right here does tremendous work on the editing each and every single week. And then when we get back to doing the vlogs, that's where I take over on those. And both are just very, very enjoyable for us. We really got to get back.
Spotify too? Spotify question.
I was going to get to that next.
Okay,
So you can leave them in the comments. We post a bunch of clips throughout the week from the episodes on Instagram. And then lastly, there is a way to submit those straight on Spotify. You click on the actual episode and then just scroll down very, very slightly. It's not a big scroll down at all. There's a spot there where you can like leave a reply, leave a question. You can submit those that way as well, guys. Finally, continue to share the show. The support on the Lau episode was fantastic. A lot of shares on the clips and just on the title of the episode as well. So guys, continue that support, continue that love, continue spreading the message and spreading our names. It helps us grow. It helps us continue to get on great guests and continues to help us bring you better content. So we're doing this for you guys. It's not for us. We're doing this for you guys to make you guys better mentally, physically, spiritually even. So guys, continue the love, continue the support as always. Whew.
It's a lot.
That was a lot.
Yeah, you were rattling that off too. I was like, hell yeah.
All right, guys. Until next time, peace and love.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Bingo.
Bingo.
Cause I'm a